This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Today on CityCast Philly. This summer, I'm going on a mission to find out who makes the best cheesesteaks in the city. Yep, I'll be eating a lot of bread, meat, cheese, and fried onions. Back in March, I talked with 2 food experts about places to go, how to order one, and what I should look out for when ranking them. It's Monday, July 8th. I'm Trinae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Joining me is CityCast Philly food contributor Dave Wes. Hey, Dave.
What's going on?
And Carolyn Wyman, author of The Great Philly Cheesesteak Book.
Hey.
Okay, I need both of you to help me go on this cheesesteak journey. I'm embarking on a serious food hunt. So there are so many spots in the city to get a cheesesteak, but for the purposes of this episode, can you tell me the first place you would recommend I go to get a Philly cheesesteak?
I think the first place is the first place, which is Pat's.
Okay, Carolyn, you say Pat's, that's down in South Philly, and it's across from another iconic spot, Gino's. We'll talk about that later.
I'm not saying it's the best, but I'm saying that that's where it all started. And so you have to bow your knee to the creator, I think. Yes.
Bend the knee.
Okay. Dave, what's your choice?
John's roast pork is solid. It's my first favorite cheesesteak I've ever had. It's right near like where the IKEA is and the Lowe's down there in South Philly, like off Columbus Boulevard, I guess you would say.
You both agree that South Philly is the first place I should go to on my journey.
Yes.
I would agree with that.
Well, I mean, because it's an Italian sandwich. I mean, it was created by an Italian. So, yeah, and that's where most of the Italians settled here. So that all makes sense. And that's where probably many of the, not all, but many good places who make cheesesteaks are.
I would agree with that.
I'm making a huge assumption that everyone knows what we're talking about when we say Philly cheesesteak. But for those who are not aware, what are the basic elements of a Philly cheesesteak?
Sure. Yeah. Bread, Italian roll, basically. Meat, thin sliced, usually ribeye, sometimes top round, sometimes less good than that. Cheese could be usually melted on the grill. And then onions, grilled onions.
I would say you got good bread, good meat, and cheese.
So let me ask you guys this. In, a course of a month, how many cheesesteaks do you eat?
Do you want to go first, Carolyn?
You can't count, huh? You're adding them up. I don't eat that many in a month, I would say, at this point. Certainly when I was writing my book, I ate an enormous amount. But it's kind of a treat. And not to mention, I'm sort of a small person. And these are huge sandwiches.
Right, so you didn't want to lose your figure.
We're talking, 10, 12 inches at least, which is bizarre. I mean, I think that's a Philly thing, It's like big. We do it big here,
Yeah. That's what I talked to my team about this. I was wondering, I was like, this is going to be a lot of food. Can I split this with someone? Can someone eat half and I'll eat half? You know,
definitely can. And in fact, when I was doing my book, I mean, I did interviews and I would take the sandwich to go. And then I would start it in the car. And if it was good, I would put it in my little cooler. And if it wasn't good, well, you can imagine what happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Dave, how many cheesesteaks do you eat in a month?
I would say I probably have one at least once a week. But if my cardiologist is listening, once a month.
Right, because it's a bunch of red meat.
It's red meat, it's high cholesterol, cheese,
Mm-hmm.
carbs. It's all the things your cardiologist says to stay away from, but they're so damn delicious.
It's a treat. It's a treat.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to have it every day. I mean, I think sandwich was invented in 1930, so we eat a little differently now. But for me, it's more of a treat. I really look forward to it when I have one.
All right, so I'm going to be trying cheesesteaks from different places, and I want to rank them. So along the way, I'm going to share what I've learned with our CityCast Philly audience, and I want to hear from you, our experts. What's your approach to rating a Philly cheesesteak? If it's good or not? What should I look out for?
I mean, one thing, just on a historic note, when you approach a place, okay, I don't know if you're going to go freelance and just not take our recommendations, but if you're going to go freelance.
No, I am going to listen. I'm listening.
Then you need to look at the name, okay? If they're advertising, this is John's Cheesesteaks place, okay? Or if it says cheesesteaks in the window, think about going somewhere else.
Ooh, that's a take.
One thing is it probably doesn't have a lot of history because it was a steak sandwich, not a cheesesteak, okay? So most of the older stands and the established stands and the people that know what they're doing, they're called steaks. And yeah, you can get cheese, and that gets into the whole how do you order thing. But in terms of when you're actually eating the sandwich, I mean, it should have a fresh roll that is not too flabby, not too soft, has a little bit of integrity to hold up to the juices. It should have great meat that is thin sliced. It should not taste like hamburger. It shouldn't have the consistency of hamburger. Shouldn't be tough. It shouldn't be chewy. Shouldn't have a lot of gristle. It should have cheese, but it shouldn't dominate. Now, there's a trend nowadays. A lot of people order provolone on their cheesesteaks. I have a real issue with. No. Do not do that. That is not good. No.
Why?
The provolone has too strong a flavor, okay? A cheesesteak is a bland sandwich. That's not a put down. It's accessible to everyone. But if each of those ingredients, the cheese, and then we haven't gotten to the onions yet, which should be, cooked. But basically, those 4 ingredients should be in balance. One should not pop out to you because then it's something else, then it's like, oh, this is a great roll or this is wonderful cheese. No, you should say, this is a wonderful cheesesteak.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I have a little bit of an opinion on that.
Yeah, no, it's cool. So let's break this down a little bit. Let's start with the bun, the bread.
That's very important. It's got to be an Italian roll, seeded. It's got to have a structure to it, kind of like what Carolyn was saying, where it needs to be strong enough to hold the sandwich.
Is it toasted?
It can be toasted. I would say the majority of the cheesesteaks I eat are not toasted. Their bread just already has the integrity of like a crusty outside, soft inside, and something to keep an eye out for when you order. If you see them gutting the roll, like grabbing some of the bread out, you know you're in for a big sandwich because they are removing the bread so they're able to fit that meat, cheese, and onion mixture in it. So you'll see sometimes with some cheesesteak shops or pizza shops, when they skimp or they're not making a big cheesesteak, they'll leave the bread in there. But if you see them start gutting the roll, you automatically know like you're about to get a really big cheesesteak.
Gotcha. Carolyn, did you want to add anything about the bread?
One thing, when I was working on my book, people were saying, well, how come we can't get as good a cheesesteak, outside of Philly? And one of the reasons is the roll, because other places, they're trying to get an Italian roll. And so they were getting deliveries or able to get fresh rolls like every other day or every third day. But here in Philly, we have so many great sandwiches on those rolls that they're incredibly fresh. Also, the great thing is that there's so many opinions about what the rolls should be like or there's different stands that have different amounts of onion that they put in or different amounts of cheese. And so they need a different roll. Like I was saying, if it's a really juicy, greasy sandwich, you need a really tough roll to kind of hold up to that. Maybe Karanji's, a place like that, which has a very, they call them almost like a gum bleeder, very tough outside.
God.
But then you got Amorosos on the other end, which is pretty soft in and out.
Love Amorosos.
And then you got like Lisios, which is kind of in the middle, which is what I like usually for your standard cheesesteak. And a lot of stands do use that bakery.
Dave, before we move on, do you have a recommendation for a spot that has really good bread for their cheesesteaks?
Angelo's Pizzeria in South Philly. Danny makes his own bread every morning. So this is one of the few people that are waking up at the butt crack of dawn, getting in there and cooking and baking his own bread. Not many other places can say that. I always joke around, I have two favorites, but they're like two sons. Like you don't love one more than the other. John's is my first love, John's roast pork, and then Angelo's. Because I discovered John's first, so that's like my firstborn, and then Angelo's is like my secondborn.
Okay, like y'all mentioned, a Philly cheesesteak wouldn't be what it is without the meat. How do you evaluate the meat in your cheesesteak?
So first off, when I go to any cheesesteak place, one of the things I take notice first right off the bat, is it made to order? Is there, if you go into a cheesesteak place and there's a big mound of meat, I'm just like, because like you don't know at what point of the day is what part of that mound being cooked and what part you're getting.
Do you think there's a reason why they put a pile of meat and have it sitting on the grill? It's got to be because of like production reasons, right? Yeah.
I would say the more popular places like the Pat's, Geno's, D'Alessandro's, they all have piles of meat, and it's because they have a long line. I get it, I understand, but as far as the quality thing, if I'm going to spend money on a cheesesteak, I'm going to go to a place that is made to order.
Caroline, what's your approach to the meat of a cheesesteak?
One thing to do is look around the shop. See if you see a slicer. If you see a slicer, or even them slicing the ribeye, whoa, you probably got ribeye, and it's probably people that are pretty serious about making a good cheesesteak. There are, a surprising number of shops that do that. So not just something frozen, that's hitting the grill frozen. I'm not saying it can't be a good cheesesteak if they do that, but, just give extra points to the guy that's doing it fresh.
More on how to select the best cheesesteak and more recommendations after the break.
Want to know one of my favorite sounds? Here it is. That's the sound I hear when I'm learning Spanish with Babbel. And if you want to learn a new language this year, I guarantee it'll be one of your favorite sounds too. I'm David Plotz. I'm the CEO of CityCast, and I've been doing Babbel for a few weeks, and it's been so much fun. This week, I've been learning lots of food vocabulary and how to order in a restaurant. This is one of the things I love about Babbel, is that it's about learning the language so that you can use it. As Babbel says, it's designed by real people for real conversation. So it's all based on real life situations. And these restaurant lessons are awesome. When I went to Mexico City last year with my girlfriend, I was mute. I was a mute. But next time, I'm going to be ordering the sopes and las salsas picantes. Babbel has over 16 million subscriptions sold, plus all of Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by their 20-day money-back guarantee. Here's a special limited-time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
All right, let's get back into this. From your perspective and your experiences, are there places that are overrated?
Yes, 100%. I would say the most overrated cheesesteak in all the land is Delisandro's. I'm not a fan. I'm pretty vocal about it too. I think it's minced meat. It's not made to order. There's always a long line. That's my opinion.
Interesting. Well, we got a difference of opinion here because
Let's hear it.
It's chop style. Okay, there's two styles of cheesesteak, and some people like the slab style. They don't want the steak to be chopped up much or if at all, and I respect that. And I think it is harder to produce a tender cheesesteak when it is a slab. It's impressive when somebody can do that. But I like the chop style also. I mean, I don't really have a preference, but I do like Delisandro's, I got to tell you. I think because the cheesesteak is sort of a simple sandwich, in your search, you're going to find out whether you like slab or chop style, or wait, maybe you're like me and you're kind of, will do anything.
Hold on. So, Carolyn, you never told us what's the most overhyped cheesesteak in your opinion.
Well,
I think she said any place that has the name cheesesteak in the window, don't go to that one. That's something I'm learning.
Well, it's appealing to the tourists, really, and it doesn't probably have much history because those early places, Pat's and Gino's and John's and a lot of these places was started when it didn't even have cheese on it. Nobody had cheese or nobody was selling them with cheese until like the 50s, early 50s.
Well, how did they make that original sandwich?
It just was a steak sandwich. So just have the onions, but no cheese.
Interesting.
There was a guy who worked at Pat's named Joe Lorenzo who put the cheese on himself one day just because he was bored with, just the steak sandwiches. Yeah, so innovation happens.
Now you got on me about my choice to put provolone on my cheesesteaks. Let's talk about cheese. Which types of cheese should I choose?
Well, if you're going to a bunch of stands, I think you gotta pick one and go with it. I think to be fair, right? You shouldn't be ordering provolone at one and American at another and whiz at another unless you have no option.
I agree. You need to set your control. I order mine with American and with fried onions or grilled onions. So if you do that, I would suggest on your cheesesteak journey to know what your order is going to be throughout the journey so you can make a fair assessment on everything. So if you're going to do a provolone for everybody. But you might run into a problem where some places might not offer provolone, but I can promise you they either carry American or some type of American and or whiz.
Yeah, I mean, you could run into trouble if you do whiz too, because there are a few stands that are like, that's below our standards for food, even though it's not below my standards for food, but I prefer American. like Dave, I prefer American. I think it blends so nicely.
You get that gooiness.
Yep.
And then recently, I guess I would really say in the last 4 or 5 years, you've really seen the emergence of Cooper Sharp American cheese. It's a regional brand, and it's a type of American cheese. It melts really nice. I never grew up on Cooper Sharp. I grew up on Land O'Lakes and Clearfield's American, or whatever was on sale at Acme. So I only really started eating Cooper since I've been in Philadelphia, to be honest with you.
This is so interesting to me because all my life I've been eating provolone, but this is like mind blown. Okay. I just didn't know I had choices.
It's kind of, I mean, the provolone thing really is a recent thing, and I attribute it kind of the gourmetization of everything, But I don't think the Philly cheesesteak is a gourmet sandwich, and it's not appropriate. Not everything has to be fancy. It could be just good.
I like that. Now we have to talk about these toppings.
Yes.
What are we ordering as a topping?
This is a heated debate. You can get yourself in a pickle. No pun intended.
Literally.
Depending on like if you what you order at some places or even in the discussion. I would say that fried onions or grilled onions, like I love onions, so that's how I order it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a must because like there's so many people that don't like onions, but me personally, I order mine with onions every time.
I'm getting mine with onions for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's a must, frankly. I mean, I think that's an essential part of the taste.
All right, we agree on this.
Carolyn, I got to ask you, if you could only have one, either American cheese or fried onions, which one would you choose?
Oh, that's a very hard decision because I think that's the taste: onion, meat, cheese.
Yeah.
And the bread holds it all together. So if you take one out, it's not going to be as good. Now, the most common misconception of people who don't live in Philly about the cheesesteak is that it comes standard with the bell pepper, right?
The peppers,
the green pepper. That's what, a lot of companies, national companies may try to reproduce the taste. They'll put in that. And again, for us, it's just an optional add-on.
Yeah.
Okay, Carolyn and Dave, give me some names of some places I have to go on my cheesesteak crawl.
I think you have to go to Phillips because Phillips is the kind of the local alternative to Pat's and Gino's. At this point, I mean, there's some locals that go to Pat's and Gino's, but Phillips is not a tourist trap, but it has that same, original kind of format of the outdoor stand, leaning on the counter and that kind of thing. I also think you should go to Donkey's, which is a very different cheesesteak on a poppy-seeded Kaiser roll, but incredibly good, incredibly interesting. It's an old speakeasy that a boxer bought, in retirement. And it's just like you walk in there, it's like a museum of old Camden. And again, I really fall for that. I also think Leo's out in Fulcroft is also worth a stop. Run by some brothers. It was at the trolley out there. It was like they were in this tiny old trolley building, and then they got kicked out by SEPTA, and now they're in this huge building, neighborhood places. I mean, that's a lot of what the cheesesteak is what's the best place in the neighborhood, and I think they are for their neighborhood.
I have to ask, do you like garlic bread?
I do. I love garlic bread.
All right, so you need to put Lilo's Tomato Pies on your list. It's in Hainesport, New Jersey. They're making an amazing cheesesteak where they toast the bread. I want to say they're a versus bread, so it's seeded. And what they do is they put garlic bread spread on it, toast the roll, and they put 16 ounces of ribeye, Cooper Sharp American, onions if you want it, and it's a solid cheesesteak. And when you bite into it, you get the taste of the ribeye meat, the gooiness of the cheese, the roll, the crunchiness of the toasted roll, and garlic bread. What's your feelings on that, Carolyn?
Yeah, I think it could taste great, but I don't know. Sounds a little out there.
Yeah. No, I like to get your perspective. But I've heard that too. Like some traditionalists are like, I don't want garlic bread. It shouldn't be garlic bread. It should just the cheesesteak should speak for itself. But if you love garlic bread like I do, Lilo's offers that, and then Angelo's also offers their cheesesteak on garlic bread. I think they call it the Tony Head. I love garlic, and I love garlic bread, so a lot of times I'll order that.
Never had garlic bread cheesesteaks. I'm usually eating like a plate of pasta with my garlic bread.
I think you stopped me when you said toasted roll. I'm not even sure I want that.
I feel you, Carolyn. I was like, oh. Dave, I usually trust you, but I don't know about that.
It's not like toasted where it's like it falls apart. It's toasted just enough where the outside is crispy, and then like the garlic bread spread like melts into the roll real nice.
All right, that was Dave West, CityCast Philly food contributor and creator of Feeding Time TV, and Carolyn Wyman, author of The Great Philly Cheesesteak book. Thank you both so much for all your takes and recommendations. I can't wait to gas up the car and eat some cheesesteaks.
Well, if you need a partner for any of those, let me know. I'll take a ride with you. I'll ride shotgun.
Cool. Yes.
Thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Are you hungry yet? If you enjoyed this episode about Philly cheesesteaks, tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.